In this video, we are going to talk about files and exceptions when opening files. There are two types of ways programs handle input. One is real-time, which is what you've done till now, where you ask the user to input something on the screen. They input, you go ahead and then process that input. But in reality, that's not how programs process data and input. In reality, most of the processing is batch processing. Batch processing comes from files. You've all looked at Windows Explorer, so this is a typical Windows Explorer, My Documents, and on the Mac you have the Finder that shows you the same thing, where you can open the Finder and look at the contents of a folder. Now, when you look at this folder, you'll see many different types of files. You'll see a PDF file, which is Adobe Acrobat, or on the Mac you have the preview, which you can use to read this file. And then you have a JPEG, which is an image file. You have a docx, which is a Microsoft Word file, and so on. You have a HTML, which is a web file, and then you have a zip, which is a compressed folder. So these are the different types of file extensions that you have. File extension says a lot about the file. It tells you what application was used to create that file and what application will open that file. So in general, you have two types of files. You have a text and a binary. A text file is just plain text. A binary file, you really can't read it just the way you would read a text file. It's basically in binary. And in this class, we will not be doing binary files. We will only cover text files. And in your text file, there are two ways you can access the data. One is a sequential, one is a direct. Sequential access, when you have to start reading the file right from the beginning, and you have to just go through the sequences of data to get to what you're looking for. Direct access, you can directly jump to what you're looking for. Most of the files that I just showed you on Windows Explorer are direct files, because you can basically, the file opens up, it opens with the beginning of the file in view, and as a user of that file, I can jump to any point within that. As an example, files stored on magnetic tapes are sequential access files, whereas files that you have on your CD, you can directly jump to any piece of data in the file. The file on the magnetic tape, you have to forward through just like you would on an audio tape to go through the point of the file that you want to reach. Now, I just showed you about file name extensions because that tells you about the data stored in the file. And just like you give a file name, within the program, you're going to give a name to the file object. So we will look at an example of this right now. Again, this file is from your main learning resource, your book. This is filewrite.py example. This is the way you declare a file in Python. Outfile, which is the name of the file object. That is not the name of the file on disk. And open philosophers.txt. Now, in Python, when you open a file, you can open in one of three modes. You can open in read mode, in write mode, or in append mode. In read mode, the file is opened. The file cannot be written to, it cannot be changed, and the file pointer sits right at the beginning of the file waiting to read what you want to read next. In write mode, you can write to a file. If a file does not exist, one is created for you. If a file does exist, all its contents are written over and erased. In append mode, a file is open for writing, and its contents are preserved, and the file pointer sits at the end of the file waiting to write to the file. Okay, so if we look at the folder where this source code is coming from, this is the source code from chapter 7. As we can see, this is sorted by name, we go from N to R. So there is no file philosophers.txt. And if no file exists, then one is created. Here we are saying out file is equal to open philosophers.txt. That's the name of the file. And this is the mode in which it is to be opened. We're saying open a file philosophers.txt. If it exists, open it and erase all the contents. If it doesn't exist, then create a new file. And here we write to the file. Just like you say print when you want to write to the screen, here we are writing to the file. We say outfile.write. Outfile is an object. Write is a member function of this, is a member function that we use with this object. Outfile.write, this writes to the file, and outfile.close, that closes the file associated with the outfile object. So as I showed you on Windows Explorer, there is no file called philosophers.txt that exists. So we run the module. When you run a module containing files, this is what I get. I don't see anything on the screen. The reason is because if you look at this code, I am not writing anything to the screen. I'm writing everything to a file. Now I'm going to reopen my Windows Explorer window. I'm going to go to View and refresh the view, and here is the file philosophers.txt. And if I open philosophers.txt, it's a simple text file, and what it contains in it is the three names that were written here: John Locke, David Hume, Edmund Burke. Those are the three. We have a /n, which is the end of line, at the end of each line, and that end of line is also incorporated, so each name is written on a different line. Thank you.